Welcome, one and all, to a very special episode of Justice League Revisited. I am one half of your co-host, the peanut butter on this glorious podcast sandwich, the jelly right there on the other side of the Zoom screen, grinning from ear to ear, happily ready to take on this new episode. We have the one, the only, the voice of Wonder Woman, Susan Eisenberg. How are you?
Well, I'm laughing because you sound a little Dickensian. I felt like
hello, Governor.
It just sounded so dramatic.
Well, I said peanut butter and jelly. I didn't say the chips to my fish. You know, it could have been more Dickensian.
You're right. No, you're right. No, when you did you pivoted to peanut butter and jelly, but the accent was just very old school, and it was really it just tickled me. Hi, how are you?
Doing well. What flavor of jelly would you like to be? I didn't pigeonhole you.
Raspberry.
Oh, very bold choice. I like it.
I know.
Nothing less from you.
Is that a bold choice, though?
Most people usually either go grape or strawberry, generally speaking. The fact that you came out with, at least it wasn't boysenberry, I would have judged you harshly.
Well, and you know what? I don't even understand grape is traditional. I get it. But no, I'm a raspberry girl.
Good for you. I like it. Bold choice. Bold choice.
Do we want to tell our listeners who's going to be on the show today?
Very excited. This is a first-time guest. And as we're doing with this particular guest, this will be what we in the business call an evergreen episode, as I go back into Dickensian form. Evergreen episode, which will be played. So we don't know when this is going to air. We're recording this. It's now mid-April. Who knows when this will drop? So if we reference something, you're like, well, they've already talked about that. That's why, because we don't know when this will drop exactly. But the cool thing is about these evergreen episodes is it's usually a first-time guest, and they've got a broad reach in the realm which we're talking today. Lauren Montgomery, director, producer, artist extraordinaire. She's worked on some fantastic projects, obviously including Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, and we've been trying to get a hold of her for a really long time. I mean, like we've said to you before, sometimes it's just not easy to get a hold of certain guests, and people are super busy. Luckily, she's on a break right now, just finished her project. She's been working on it for 4 years. And so we were lucky to get her, and she, Joaquim dos Santos was kind enough to let her know that we were looking for her, and she agreed to do it. So we are really, really delighted to have her here. She worked on Justice League Unlimited. She directed me in Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. Actually, when I think about it, I did do an Avatar episode. I played the mother. Oh, I should have researched this.
That's okay.
I should have come prepared. But yeah, we're really excited she's here, and we have a lot of questions for her.
We do.
And yeah, we do. And, there aren't that many women directors in the business, and there weren't that many women working on Justice League or Justice League Unlimited. So I'm thankful she's here to add her voice into the mix. So you want to get started? Should we?
Chuck, Gary, would one of you guys go? I don't care which one of you. Could one of you you don't need to do paper, rock, scissors. Okay, yep. No, you shoot on 1, 2, 3 and then shoot. You don't shoot on, just Chuck, go get her. Gary, go check and make sure that, okay. Yeah, Chuck, bring her in. Thank you. Gosh.
Wow.
It's hard having them both in together.
Well, maybe we have to separate it. Maybe we have to just have one, what I mean?
Every other day they can
alternate.
Take turns. They can take turns. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, yep. Thank you, Chuck. Yep, and you can have a seat right there, Lauren. Thank you very much. Okay, everyone's ready. Joining us for the very first time. We're so excited to have Lauren Montgomery with all the art and the directing. We're going to talk to her all about that, her career and her work on Justice League. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It's about time we got her, right? We've been clamoring for her. And it was really Joaquim dos Santos, who when he was on, do you remember him just going on and on and on and on about her brilliance?
Yeah.
And many other people have
Dan
chimed
Reba
in also.
Said, yeah.
Dan Reba. And so we were like, Joaquim, do what you can do and get her on the show. And I knew that he had done like whispered in her ear, because when I all of a sudden she followed me back on Instagram, and I'm like, I'm in. I can DM her now. So thank you for being here.
Of course.
And I said to you off air, I haven't seen you in 100 years, and you look exactly the same to me. So whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Thank you. I feel like somehow this Zoom camera is like doing something, maybe it's not as HD, and so my my many years of stress have not like fully come through in my face. But thank you.
I disagree, because most people are like, "Yikes, Zoom cameras!" Well done, you. But we are delighted you're here, because you and I obviously have worked together. You worked on the show, and we did a straight to DVD film you directed me in. But your career started long before that. So
Yeah.
we try to get people's origin stories on this
Sure.
podcast. So if you don't mind giving us a little bit of what your Lauren Montgomery, this is your life. Could you do a little bit of your
sure.
origin story?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take you all the way back. Funny enough, like I loved cartoons as a kid. I loved drawing. My mom, she was an artist, but she would do like visual art, but she was a lot more crafty. But I loved cartoons. I loved drawing. And as soon as The Little Mermaid came out in like '89, I was 9, and I was just in love with Ariel. Like, I wanted to draw her perfect. And I couldn't, like, she looked like garbage every time I drew her, but I tried. Like, I would try and I would try. And like, that really kind of just started me down that path, of like, I loved all of these Disney movies. I loved like all of my cartoons. I think my parents thought like, yeah, she'll grow out of it. It's a phase. I did not.
Where were you living when you fell in love?
So I am born and raised in Southern California.
Okay.
I grew up down in Orange County, like Fullerton. Spent a lot of time at Disneyland. It was like my favorite place in the world. And still do. Still love Disneyland very much. I haven't grown sick of it yet. But I think I had a neighbor, and she gave me this book called like The Autobiography of Bill Pete, and he was one of the story artists for Walt Disney, like back in the day, early Disney years. And that was kind of around the time that I realized that this was a thing you could do for a living. Like, you don't just watch cartoons, you can actually make them. And once that clicked, I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. And so I just kind of started heading in that direction for the rest of my life. Still drew all through high school, like never grew out of it, never disliked it. And then in college, I went to Loyola Marymount University. It had a very small animation program. But I took a class with a man named Jay Oliva, and he taught me how to storyboard for the industry. And he was one of like the only teachers at that college that really like worked in the industry. I think for a lot of us, it was like a weird, like, we don't understand. We don't understand what happens out there. It was very like confusing. Like, we didn't have like as much internet then, or as much like no social media. So you couldn't peek behind the veil as much. But he taught us how to storyboard for the industry, which was incredibly helpful. And so, and it was around that time that I kind of realized I went in wanting to be like a 2D animator, but I realized that my heart was much more in like the storyboarding side of things, because I could still get everything that I loved from on the animation side, which is like, you can keep pose, you can kind of like, you can set the path of motion, but you're telling more of the story, and you're not focusing as much on like, keeping volumes consistent, which I can't do, or drawing the character the same way every time, which I'm terrible at. So I really fell in love with like the storytelling aspect of it. And Jay ended up giving me my first job out of college in 2002, which was on this He-Man revamp that was happening at the time. And so I worked on like 2 seasons of that. And I think after that, like, I had a roommate, and she she had interned at Warner Brothers, and I think she is now working in production at WB. And she was like, "Oh, Justice League is like looking for people. Do you want to take a test?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." At that point, like I knew
This is
all
the
of
difference between me and you. If somebody said, "You want to take a test?" I'd be like, "I'll see you later." Like, there's no part of me that wants to take a test, Lauren. No part of me. I'd be out that frickin' door so fast.
Yeah.
I love that you're like, yeah, I totally want to take a test.
I was like, well, it's like it's like a storyboard test where you draw, and I was very, I don't know, like as like quiet and shy and like kind of introverted of a girl as I was, I loved drawing, and I was excited by, I guess, like challenges where I could prove myself. And I guess I saw that as like, yeah, if I test, then like, I can take the job. Like, I always knew there was a chance I could fail, but like if I didn't try, nothing was going to happen. So I decided, like, I'm gonna do it. She got me a test, and I had to just board this very like short sequence with like Hawk Girl and Green Lantern like talking on a cliff. Like, I don't even know what if it was from an episode.
Yeah, it was from Star-Crossed.
Okay, yeah. So they'll just usually pick out like a little chunk and like hand you like, here, board this, and that's your test, and you board it. And so submitting that along with like the boards that I had from He-Man ultimately got me my first job, and it was on Justice League Unlimited, because I think Justice League was airing while I was in college, and we were all watching it. And like I'd watched Batman the Animated Series all through like high school, and like loved all of the Bruce Timm shows. And then it's like, oh my God, I can work on one of these. How, like, it felt very like strange but exciting. And so yeah, and it turned out Joaquin was my director. He had been promoted to a director on Justice League Unlimited, and it was like so intimidating, but also like, I don't know, just exciting and like cool, and like, oh my God, I can work on this. And I think they started me out with like a pretty small freelance section on like the first episode, where I was just drawing like all of these scenes in the Watchtower of like a million characters. And I drew way too many because I was still new. I hadn't quite mastered like, how many shots do you need to fill this time? I was like looking at this script and this dialogue, and it's like every third word I'm like, new shot. It's like, and of course, if you play that through, it's going to be like, cut. It's going to look funky. But like, I hadn't quite learned that yet. And so I was just drawing all of these like really elaborate shots of like thousands of heroes, not thousands, but like a lot of heroes just all over the Watchtower. And I was having a lot of fun. And then I think, they called us in, like, and we had this meeting with like Bruce and James, and I think it was meant to be like a very like kind and benevolent, and like we're gonna tell you these things, because like we were, I think, a pretty new team. Like Joaquin was a first time director, I was like a very young board artist, and we had a couple other guys. And I think they were like, we know this is our greenest team. We want to like teach them like things to avoid early. And it was like, I look back and I realized like, oh, they were helping. I think at the time I was like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Like, I just was like so afraid, but it was great. And we sat in this room, and like Bruce explained and James explained, like, there's too many shots here, like we don't need this many, and all these things, and kind of going through like rookie mistakes that we were making. But anyway, ended up doing however many seasons of Justice League Unlimited, I think however many there were, until it like ended. And yeah, and then I believe I went on to do, I guess my first like episodic directing job was on Legion of Superheroes after that. And we did that for a season, and that's when Joaquin had moved over to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and he started back at board artist and then had been promoted to director, and he needed another person for his team. And he asked like me and a few other guys to, again, like back then they did a lot of like storyboard tests, and they weren't paid. It was just kind of like, here, board this. And it's like, looking back, it's kind of like, wow, I'm amazed I had the energy to do that. But I was young and I was excited. And funny enough, like, he asked a number of people, and I think some of the guys were like, oh, I want to do a test. Their egos got in the way. And it was just like me and one other guy that actually did the test, because I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then like just did the test. And then they ended up liking my stuff. And that's how I ended up working on Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that was cool because like that was just such a different show, but it was like a special show. It was really like unique in the animation industry.
Yeah.
And I did that. And by the time that was over, Warner Brothers had kind of like, it was going through this weird lull where like there wasn't a lot happening there, but they were starting to kind of like, I guess, make these like direct to DVD movies that started with Doomsday. Mm-hmm. And I think I had done that like prior to leaving for Avatar. And then they were doing a Wonder Woman straight to DVD. And Bruce asked me to come back to direct that. And so I didn't realize at the time like how unique that was. I think like I was just like, this is cool, and I just assumed that like there would always be like female lead projects. And I learned a hard lesson.
Directed by a female?
Yeah, and I learned a hard lesson that's not really the case. Right. But at the time, like I didn't realize how special it was. I was just like, this is cool. Like, I'm gonna do this. And we went back, we did that. Did a number of other ones, like always like a Batman or a Superman, maybe a Green Lantern in there. Was kind of hoping and expecting like another female hero to come along, and they just never did. And I think at a certain point, like, you can only do so many of those before you're like, I feel like I've done everything I can with these characters. It's like, or at least as me, like I'd love someone else to have like a crack at it or have a new take. But like, I was, I guess, growing a little bored or a little restless at some point. And then that's when Korra was happening, and Joaquin had gone back over there. Mike and Brian, who I'd gotten to know when I worked on the original show, they asked me to come over and work on that. And that was a female-led series. And so, of course, what I was wanting to do, another female lead, I just hopped right on over there. And we did 3 seasons of that, and that was great. And then after that, Joaquin and I went to DreamWorks, where we did Voltron together. We took a lot of our Korra crew. That was a really fun experience, really great show, an amazing crew. Love working with Joaquin. He's a magnificent person, incredibly talented. And then once Voltron was done, jumped around, did a few things, a little bit of development at Sony, spent a couple years at Skydance, didn't quite like the fit there. And somewhere around where I was kind of like, I guess, souring on that experience, Mike and Brian reach out again. They tend to reach out every time I'm getting restless. And they're like, hey, we've started this Avatar Studios, like we're gonna be making features, like would you want to come direct this? And I was like, I was still at my other job, and I was like, I don't know, let me see. And we ended up having this one meeting like at my other job where like I expressed some of my concerns about like what we were doing and how it was being run, and I was just met with like absolute dismissal. Of just like, we don't think your concerns are valid. And that was when I just immediately emailed the guy. I was like, yep, I'm coming, I'm gonna direct your movie. And I left. And that kind of brings us up to now. I spent the last 4 years directing the Aang movie at Paramount. And
4 years.
Yes, 4 years.
It's like a feature film like a regular live action feature. I mean, it's incredible to me. 4 years.
It's incredible to me too. coming off of Voltron, where we had spent 4 years making 78 episodes. And now I was basically spending 4 years doing the equivalent of like 6 episodes. And it's funny because it's hard to process. You're like, how can that possibly take that long? And it really is just like you're boarding, you're throwing out, you're boarding, you're throwing out. So you're never not working or not moving. You're just like constantly like finding and refinding and trying a different path and reworking, and it's crazy. It's a different process for sure. People will ask like, hey, what's harder, TV or feature? And my saying is like, it's a choice. It's a choice between your physical health or your mental health, because and TV, you will like run your body into the ground because you are moving and you are moving and you are moving, but you're getting things done at every point and you're feeling like, you're making progress. Whereas in feature, like you will churn and you will churn and you will think you're going crazy and this shit will like make you want to tear your hair out. So yeah, which one do you want? You want to like kill your body or maybe go insane? It's just a choice.
So how long does it take for you in those 4 years? How long until you're working with the voice actors?
I think it can differ based on like how early you want to bring them on, how confident you are in certain aspects of your film. I feel like, gosh, I wish I had a better brain for dates, but I feel like we were kind of like probably at least a year in before we really started to even like lock in actors. I remember just like working on the movie and being like, are we even going to talk about actors? like what is happening? There's a lot of weird stuff.
Is anything?
Yeah. Like to be honest, we had some weird challenges on that movie of just like certain leadership that was put into position because like they had done other movies for Paramount and Paramount liked them and they were not actually working out well at all for our movie. And so I'm sitting here like, this is my first feature and I'm just like, hey, features are run really weird, but you know what would I know? I've never done a feature. And then other people are like, Lauren, this is not how it goes. And I'm like, okay, so something is weird here. And this, I just shouldn't be trusting this person who like the studio like trusted and put in place. And I think a lot of our like not actually like getting things done at the time that they should be done was because this person just didn't really want to work. They just didn't want to work. They didn't want to bother themselves with this movie. And once that person was removed, like, suddenly we had people who were invested and who were communicating and who weren't like intentionally blocking us from doing our jobs. We were able to move forward and things like things felt a little more normal, but we really didn't bring like actors on until I feel like kind of late in the process. And there's a point at which like we're being told like, hey, we're going to have to start shipping things soon. I'm like, we can't ship anything. We don't have actors. Like if they don't have a voice, how are you going to animate to it? We're not going to ADR the movie. Like it was a mess. There was a lot of mess on the film, to be honest. But hey, you live, you learn, and then you do it all over again, and it's a mess all over again. If there's one thing I've learned in my time in animation, it's that it doesn't matter where you go. There's always going to be someone who's pretty inept and incompetent somewhere at that studio. It's unfortunate.
Well, how does it feel when you're, as a woman, when you're in charge?
It feels, I don't know. On our movie, it felt fine. I actually had like a lot of people who were really supportive and great, and were not at all like, there can be people who will just like talk over you, interrupt you, they just want to fill space, and that makes them feel like, I made an impact. We did not have a lot of that on our crew. We had people who were very mindful, very considerate, very respectful. There was no sexism. It was wonderful. It's not always that way. But, Ramsey Naito, who was the head of animation at the time, was incredibly supportive of me as a director of the movie, wanted the movie to get made, wanted it to be like in theaters, all of these things. And then, when we did bring on like new producers, Latifah Woe was unbelievably supportive, super, super helpful. Marianne Garger like got shit done. Like these women, we had a lot of women on our crew that were really like getting things done. And it was really a lovely experience. It makes me feel a little bit spoiled like, that I won't have such like amazing people working around me on like whatever the next project is, but hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, one of the reasons we were really anxious to get you on too was because as much as I love hearing from all the men who worked on Justice League and Unlimited, and they're brilliant and they're just kind, and I couldn't be bigger fans of them. I really lamented to James that we weren't hearing from there were no women. I mean, we obviously our voice director, Andrea Romano, and I remember Kelly, who was our engineer. Yes. But you want to hear a female voice in these interviews. And, I think aside from when we interviewed Dynamic Music Partners, right, and Lolita. So, it's a long way of saying, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. And it was definitely, when I came into the industry, there were definitely not a lot of women. Specifically, like, I think I was definitely the only female artist on He-Man when I started. And then again, the only female artist on Justice League when I started over there. And it was almost like a thing. I remember like they'd bring in like bagels every Friday. Like I was getting a bagel and this one guy was like, oh, what are you working on? I was like, oh, Justice League. He was like, but you're a girl. Like it was very much like, that's a boys club. And I was like, well, I'm there. I don't know. And I'm
surprised he didn't ask you to get him a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Those things happened more often than not, like back in the day.
Yeah.
Where it's just, I guess it was just unexpected. But yeah, I was there, and luckily, like obviously the people in charge, like the Bruces and the James and and Joaquin, like they didn't care that I was a girl. They just wanted me to do good work.
Right.
And they were happy that I was doing it. So they're like, yeah, just keep doing good work, and then everything's fine.
I can't tell you how many people come up to me at Comic-Cons with their artwork, and whether it's Wonder Woman or things that they've done, other characters. And they were like, I just want to, I want to do comic books, or I want to be an animator. And you had, I think, an advantage to living in Los Angeles, and that being like, it's a company town. I mean, Warner Brothers is right there. And if you're growing up if you're living in Ohio, for the people who are listening, what would you recommend to people who are like, I want to do what Lauren Montgomery's done. I want to follow in her footsteps. What would you recommend?
That's hard because I honestly don't even know how I did it. I was local. It's like I look back on like how I ultimately got my foot in the door, and it was very like a lot of it was like local. I was local, therefore someone in the industry was teaching at my college. But I would say one thing that happens, and I guess it depends on like what area you want to go into. If storyboarding is your area of choice, like there are a lot of professionals who will teach classes, and they will use those classes as like kind of a hunting ground of like who's good, like who's doing a good job in my class, and they'll kind of cherry pick. And like I know like my husband's done it, he's taught a class. A lot of people that like I work alongside in the industry have they will teach a class, and they will pick new board artists like out of that class. So that's always good. Like honestly, a lot of it is really just like networking, getting in front of someone who might see value in you and might have the opportunity to give you like a position. And it's I feel like it's maybe a little better now because you have a bit more access to some of these artists, like online with social media. Sometimes just putting your work out there, like, I mean, a lot of us will scour Instagram or Twitter or whatever we need to kind of like find, if you find like an artist and they just have this amazing like bank of work, like generally you don't care how old they are. It's like, are they a student? Are they going to graduate next year? Keep eyes on them because like they're doing amazing work, and maybe we can like utilize that. Maybe we can like try them out. So I don't know, like just your work can speak for itself. You just kind of have to get it seen or put it out there to be seen.
I was curious. We've talked to many of the artists and storyboard artists and people who've worked on the series, and back then, nothing was thought of. Like Joaquin was telling us, he would draw all these things, and then he'd throw the boards away or something like that. And now people are like, "Oh my gosh!" Like Bruce Timm has posted stuff. Paul Dini's posted stuff. Hey, look what I found in my desk drawer. Did you think to keep anything from back in the day, whatever project you may have been working on? And are you more cognizant of that now? Be like, no, I'm going to keep this because one day people are going to say, what have you got or what have you worked on? I can show them a storyboard from Voltron or Justice League.
I always try to keep at least some version. A lot of times we had to turn the originals in. So at least like in my time on Justice League, we weren't very digital. We were still on paper. So any of my original drawings would kind of be handed over. But I'd always make like a Xerox copy, and like, oh my God, if I never have to stand at another Xerox machine again, it'll be too soon. Like, but you know, I'd always make myself a copy, and then but the thing is, like, they stack up. Like, you're working on a new, especially on Justice League, it was like every 4 weeks we were working on a new episode. And they're like freaking telephone books, these things. Like, the amount of drawings you do, it's crazy. And so you've got like, at the end of the year, I've got like 12 telephone books. And like, you're running out of space. So I did, like, a few years ago, I went through a lot of stuff. And like, I ended up taking it to a company and having them just scan it for me. So I was like, I can't with this anymore. Like my house isn't big enough. You can see, look at all, like it's a hoarder room. Like I don't have enough room in my house. But I try to at least keep a file. And now all of our stuff is digital. We work with like Toon Boom, Storyboard Pro, and like, you know, Wacom's Antiques. And so it's a little bit easier to just like keep your files, make sure you have. Sometimes I'll keep the storyboard file. Most of the times I'll just keep the animatic because it has everything that I need in it. But I will try to, like, especially if I've done the work, I'll keep it. And if I, like, with Voltron, where we made the show, I keep, like, at least one of everything, one of each episode, regardless of whether it's my work or not. It's, you know,
do you ever draw the old-fashioned way anymore?
Okay, sometimes. You know, I was, so... You know, you draw a lot for work, and I did get to this one point where, like, drawing was no longer, like, bringing me joy. And I still love being creative, and I do a ton of creative things, but I would just not do the drawing side. I would sculpt, I would craft, I would, like, you know, build miniatures. I would do a lot of things that just wasn't, like, the physical drawing on paper. But I did kind of hack my brain where I was like, all right, like so from back in the day when we were working on paper with boards, they'd have the supply closet and people would raid the supply closet, and we'd take like, oh, I'm going to take all the good pencils, or I'm going to take the good Post-its. And like, you'd have yourself like a little stack because you assume you're going to go through all these, you're going to use them because you're going through so much constantly with, you know, drawing phone books every month. And at the end, you know, like, it was kind of a thing, like when you're let go, you do your last raid of the supply closet. You take a little something with you. And I have like all these pencils and all of these pens and all these weird things that have just been sitting there. And I'm like, am I never going to use these? Like, I don't do physical art anymore. And so I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to like, I have all these Amazon boxes. I'm just going to like start drawing. And I had like this paint, like a lot of paint. Like my mom will sometimes be like, hey, you want this paint? And I'm like the hoarder that's like, yeah, I'll use it. And I never use it. And then like, I was like, all of these weird art supplies that I have, I'm just going to use them. And I'm just going to be experimental. I'm going to be weird. And I'm going to just do it on like cardboard from Amazon boxes. And so that actually got me like back into kind of like drawing stuff. I would kind of just draw something out and then paint it and like do weird stuff and just like have something in the end. I'd use like whiteout pens if I needed to, but anything to kind of like use some of these art supplies and just get something creative out of it. So that kind of got me back into drawing physically. But otherwise, like I will occasionally draw digitally. I got my iPad, I got my pencil. So it's just, it's close to having a sketchbook. You're just like doing it digital with an undo button, which is sometimes a little bit easier. But yeah, I try to draw occasionally.
With the drawings that you've done, have you noticed? Because I've seen, I'm a comic book collector. I've got back issues all the way back to the 60s and 70s, and I'll notice artist styles have changed. Like if you look at in the 90s when Rob Liefeld, famous example, was doing New Mutants versus the stuff he's doing now. When you look at your own art, can you see a progression, an evolution, a change? And what do you think that change, the biggest change is to your style?
Yeah, I definitely can. And I think the biggest change was like in my earlier days, I was much more influenced by like Disney and even like by Bruce's style. Like everything was very kind of like clean and had like a life and an action, but it's simplified. And eventually like I had to start learning like more anatomy, more like, not that I didn't know anatomy, but like defining muscles and like and structures. And I think like on Korra and some of these things moving forward, like I guess some of the drawings started like becoming a little more realistic. And I don't know, sometimes I look back at my old drawings and I really miss it. Like I'm like, oh, that was fun. There was a life to it that sometimes I find in some of my more recent drawings. I'm like, oh, I'm missing it. Like I'm focusing too much on the structure that I'm losing the gesture. And it's sad. It's sad. Like, oh, I want that girl back. Like, come back. Can we hang out again? Can I use your drawing skills? But it's like you gain some things and you lose some things. And it's like, I learned a lot about certain structures and things, but I lost a little bit of that. I think like as you grow, your tastes evolve, and sometimes I feel like my skills, I can't keep up with my tastes. So I'll just draw something, be like, that's garbage. What are you doing? And I'm like, damn it. I wish I could like deliver for myself the way I used to be able to. But, I guess that's just the plight of the artist. You're always kind of going to hate your work.
Would you ever consider creating like a show, creating a character and you being the creator of this as opposed to working for somebody else?
Yeah, it's always an option and a possibility. And when I create things, I generally create them with a female lead. And that's not always wanted. Like that's what I have found is like I did go out and I did kind of pitch some of these things in a time where I thought it would be more wanted, but I just kind of realized like, no, they still want like boy shows and male characters and it's difficult also because not everyone wants originals. A lot of people want more franchise. Just give us more of what we have. So it's never off the table, and it's a thing that like I always have that like hope and dream, and I guess it's about finding the right home and them liking what I have.
Well, I got to tell you, the fans would love a Wonder Woman animated series. That's long overdue. Just throwing that out there for all the fans who who mention it to me all the time that they've been robbed, and I can't argue with them. I think they have been robbed. So
For sure.
yeah. So and I love that you got to work on the film, on the Wonder Woman film, and that was with Kerry Russell, correct?
Yes.
That you, and Gail Simone, I believe, was the screenwriter on that. What was that experience like?
It was fun. It was unique. Like Gail kind of did the first draft, and then Mike Jelenic, he from the Mario movies, he ended up coming in and like kind of taking it to finish. And so I worked more alongside Mike than like I did Gail. I think I didn't ever get to meet Gail. I just kind of was given like her script and I got to read it. But you know, it was fun. Like I was very young. I had a lot of energy, but more energy maybe than I had like refined skill. So I was just going off of pure excitement and inspiration, and I really I poured a lot of myself like into that movie. And I look back and now obviously like I'm like, oh, there's so many things I would do differently, but at the time, you know, I was just going like off of just pure freaking like, this is cool, I want to do this. And Bruce gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of space to kind of do what I wanted with it. He didn't, he really didn't like try to control it. He would just come in and guide. Like he would make sure like if there was something that like needed a little like zhuzhing up, he would make those suggestions. And he was never the guy who would be like, this is how you do it. He was always just the guy who would be like, oh, hey, let's try this. And he would let me learn from watching him rather than trying to like preach or teach or like tell. And it was, I think he probably saw a lot of like himself in me because I feel like we were very similar in that like we were both very like keep to yourself sort of people. And like neither of us was like a very like, you know, extroverted, talkative person. And one person once told me, she was like, Bruce likes you because you don't need him to like you. Because I think like Bruce had like, there are probably a lot of fanboys who were like, Bruce, hey, like really trying to like get his attention. And I was not. I was just like off doing my own thing. And I think Bruce appreciates someone who's not like, who's just focused on the work and not trying to like be Bruce's friend.
Right.
I don't know. No, but it was a good experience.
And I have to say, you know, Mike, when you brought up Mike's name, I met Mike. I did Jackie Chan Adventures. Okay. And Mike was the assistant he worked in the script department. Mm-hmm. And he started out, he was like working for the writers. He was a writer's assistant. Yeah. And it was just like when he got Wonder Woman, I texted him and, you know, it was just it was so thrilling. It's so exciting when you just watch somebody climb that ladder. I remember Joaquin and becoming, you know, from storyboard, and he was so young, Joaquin, like he was, and just getting him, you know, watching him seeing that he was directing. It's so exciting when that happens.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's the nice thing I think about like TV, even though it can be really hard. Generally, we will have like faster schedules, lower budgets, but in that way, it's kind of like a Wild West of like, can you do it? And if you can, you will be rewarded. Like if you do your job and you do it well, you'll be rewarded. And it's less of like, you know, how long have you worked here? How long have you been waiting for this opportunity? I think that it can be that way at some studios, more so in the feature side of like, you have to get in line and then you'll get your movie. but in TV, it's just like, can you do it? Are you doing it well? Are you doing it better than them? Okay, great. You got the job. And so you end up, I guess, moving up the ranks a little quicker if you have the passion and the talent and the work ethic.
Do you have a lot of ambition?
You know, I don't know. Like, I don't see myself as a terribly ambitious person, but I do get fuel, anger, and injustice. And I think at one point I realized, like, and I'm honestly, I look back and I'm surprised that I asked for a raise, and that is like generally not something that I would do because I was still a very new board artist. But I realized that someone I knew was making like more money than me. Mm-hmm. But they didn't like his work, and they really liked my work. And I was like, hey, wait, I might be new, but I'm pulling my weight. And so I actually did go in and, like, as scared as I was, I asked for a raise, and they gave
and you don't have an agent
at
that point.
At that point, I was very new.
Now you do. Now,
I do now.
Right, okay. Because, like, that's really nerve-wracking when you don't have somebody to...
Yeah, to kind of do it for you.
Yeah.
It is not. It was very scary, and I was, I honestly, I look back in disbelief of like, wow, you did that, Lauren.
You were brave.
I know. I think I was a little delusional maybe as well.
Yeah. Youth.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
You've got that Sentinel in the background that we talked about earlier, and I know you've worked on some Marvel projects too, as well as we'd be here the rest of the day talking about your DC projects you've either storyboarded or directed or been a producer on. So I'm curious, you mentioned Disney and Batman the Animated Series. Were you into comic books in general growing up, or was it just from the media that you were seeing?
I knew I had a peripheral knowledge of like the characters. I wanted to like the comics books, but I was a very very introverted child, very self-conscious, very awkward. And there was something about comic book shops back in the day that didn't always feel super welcoming to a young girl. And so as much as I would like gaze longingly at them from outside, whenever I would set foot inside, I would immediately feel like a little not welcome. Like I just had like eyes staring at me the whole time. And so I ended up just really not feeling comfortable going into the shops. And therefore I didn't get a lot of like close, firsthand exposure to it. So a lot of it came later through the comics, through the media I was working on, learning. Like, I obviously knew who Superman was and who Batman was and who Wonder Woman was. Like, I knew the main ones, but a lot of those side peripheral characters, like, I had to learn about as I was doing them. And then,
like in Justice League Unlimited, when you're having to draw 45 characters in the Watchtower.
I would literally, I think, and even then, like, it was still kind of early internet time. So I think what I did was I went and I bought the DC encyclopedia. They would have those big books. And I would look up the characters so I could understand like who, like what is their power, or like who are they, and like kind of understand them a little bit better. When I was like drawing them, or if I had to like, board them. But a lot of times they would just be in the background of things. But I just wanted to know who they were. So like if I could add a little like flair to them in the background, like they're doing something, it would be correct instead of just like me making something up like I don't know who this person is, and then they're just using powers they don't have. But yeah, it was true.
Yeah, that's why I have James here, because when we're now covering, we cover a new episode on the podcast every 2 weeks, and when we got to Unlimited and there were all these people on the screen, I'm like, James, who the hell is the guy with the motorcycle? Like, who's the cowboy? Who's this guy? Who's that? I have no idea who these women and men are.
I had to learn all of those. Like, I had to learn about Vigilante and like Vibe and Gypsy. Vixen, like, she was a little more major in the show. But like, it was like, oh God, was it Rocket Red?
Rocket Red,
I don't know. I called him Rocket Fred because I thought that was funny. But
no, I'm going to call him that. That's great. I love it.
Yeah. And like, there's so many, all of these characters. And like, I'm amazed that a lot of them stick in my head, like those names, like Star and Stripe. And then I don't know, some of them just fade away. But like, I had to board, like, was it White Knight or what was the
Shining Knight?
Or sort of like
Shining Knight.
Shining Knight, I had to board stuff with like him and Vigilante, and like it's funny because it's like one's a cat, one's a knight, and then they were like in a scene together, and like it was fun. It was fun. Just some of those like weird setups and these weird characters, but I had a lot of fun discovering their powers and then trying to like imagine like ways that I could use them in the boards that were novel and like interesting and like unexpected. And just, you know, it was like a fun puzzle to solve sometimes, like some of those action scenes.
As one of the writers or the storyboard artists, I mean, did you get to go in? Because I know sometimes they'd be in with the recording sessions, like, you know, even if they weren't directing, they'd sit in. Did you get to be in any of the sessions for the parts that you drew?
No, I think I didn't get to sit in on any, like, and I was obviously much too shy to like ask. I was like, that's not my place. I don't belong there. But it wasn't, I don't
That's
think
how
it
I
was
felt.
It wasn't until I started, like, I think episodic directing that I started kind of like sitting in on that stuff. And like, and Andrea always had it down. Like she, you know, she didn't need anyone telling her how to do her job. So like it made all of our jobs easier of just like, you know, you can sit, you can watch her. And if you want to ask for something, you can. But like, she's pretty much going to get you what you need regardless. But yeah, it was great. Like, it was exciting to kind of see those things. And it's hilarious because you guys like make it look so easy because you just like, they're like, and then this, and you just do it. And so there's, you know, people like me sitting outside who are like, wow, look at that. It's not that hard. And then one episode, I think it was like Legion of Superheroes, where they're like, oh, we just need like Walla for these like weird things that are punching, and there's like, Lauren, can you do something? I was like, yeah, sure. And I go in there like, okay, give us like I could not do it. I was like, oh my god, I got like so flustered and so like nervous. And then they were like, on the beeps. I was like, oh my god, I don't know. And like I couldn't do the beeps. And then I was like, okay, this is not easy. There's nothing easy about this. Oh my god. And I just got my ass out of there.
Good, because we don't need more competition.
No.
You know, I remember reading when you did some of the movies, the straight to video, that they were divided into parts. Like one director would direct one portion and then another director would direct it. How did that go? How did that work out?
So we did that on Doomsday. That was kind of like the first one. And I think they were doing it just mainly to maintain, like, you know, kind of like the television cadence of like, we need to, if you would look at it like an episode,
right,
you'd split the thing up into like 3 parts and it's 3 episodes. And they're like, oh, well, we can't ask one director to do all 3 episodes when they're overlapping. That's going to be an overloading their work. So we'll just like treat it like episodes. One person does this, one person does that, one person does that. And that's kind of how we treated it. And so, I mean, the weird thing is when you do that, you cohesive. like someone might have one directing style, someone might have another. But even like in boards, you'll get that. Like, this board artist style is like this board artist style is like. And because, you know, you're working fast, you're working in TV, you can't police that a ton. I think in features, you're much more focused on making it feel like one cohesive vision. You can go back into scenes, and like the board artist might like give you the basis of here's the scene, but you know, you'll have like a head of layout or a cinematographer who will go through and try to make it all feel like one continuous vision. Like, they'll change cameras or change shots or whatever they need to make it like feel consistent and cohesive. And you don't do that in TV. It's just like, did you do a good job? Great. Send it through. And like one person's section might feel a little over here and one person might section feel a little over there. If you have someone who's just boarding in a completely different style, they're usually not a good fit for the show. And there were people I would, you know, I think I've replaced people before where like, oh, this person's not working out. And then, you know, like I would get a job because that person didn't work out.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, but it happens. And so that's what they did with Doomsday. And I don't know, I honestly think it was probably budgetary, but once like we got to Wonder Woman and on, they started doing more of like the one director. And it's like, and you have to do the whole thing. I don't think it was like anything like art based, like we want it to feel cohesive. I think it was literally we want to pay for one person instead of 3. Because that generally with those things, they were all a little money driven. Like, how can we do this for less money? or free up this money to do whatever, like, you know, they were big on like the stunt casting then where they're like, people will buy it. I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that, but that's you and that's your marketing, so go for it.
We had some people we put out on social media that we're going to have you on today, and we usually open it up for them to ask questions. And we've got at Kyle Norana wants to know, Lauren's work always boils down to compelling characters that can be viewed with empathy. Did her approach to JLU differ or share similarities with Legend of Korra or even the Wonder Woman film?
You know, I'm a really simple person. I really only work one way. And so like, yeah, I generally, when I am boarding a character, I might not need to know everything, but I do need to at least have a base level understanding of who that character is, because like so much, even if I'm just drawing a fan art, like in the past I've done like little sketches for people. They'll be like, draw my original character, and generally I kind of need to ask like, what is this character like what is their personality, because their body language is going to, like, how you draw them, the pose you draw them in is informed by who they are. Are they confident? Are they shy? Are they, like, you know, angry? Like, just all these little things, like how do they carry themselves, how are they going to act? So a lot of my scenes are generally like character driven. I'll try to just put myself into the mind of that character and make them act in whatever way feels appropriate, like visually. So yeah, like I can't say I don't try to cater it to whatever I'm working on, like Legend of Korra, camera-wise, shot-wise, like they're less, like I think with a lot of the WB properties, we'd be more dynamic and be like Dutch angle, low angle, and we'd go like real kind of superhero, pulpy, campy, and fun. And Legend of Korra was trying to be a little more of like a slightly more realistic camera, not totally realistic, but not Dutching everything, not pushing kind of the comic book aesthetic. So I'll do those little change ups, but I generally will always approach it from like a character mindset first.
At Amazon_princess wants to know, you boarded for a lot of awesome projects. Is there a project that you like best? And is there a project, whether it's already an existing IP or whatever, that you'd like to board for?
That is a good question. So I guess like there's different answers for different ways. There's like, hey, I liked doing this job because like we actually had the time. Like I would say Korra was, as hard of a show as it was probably one of the shows where I was the most able to like accomplish my work in the time that like we had, because we had a really top heavy crew. We had like Joaquin, we had Ryu, we had me, we had directors, we had assistant directors, and we had a board team. And so we had a lot of people. So when it's time for me to kind of do my pass, like I actually have the time to do it. So it's not like just this overwhelming stress. Like when I was on Justice League, there was a lot of really fun things to board, but there was always like this, it was so much work. They really over scripted, and they're like, we'll just cut it later. But we still had to draw it. It takes a long time to draw. I remember doing like an episode where I don't remember what the episode was, but I just remember like a city burning and buildings falling, and like I boarded this entire scene where there's like a downed electric line on like a fire engine, and Superman comes in and saves the firefighters, and then it's gone. It's just out. Cut. Like, I'm like, you made me draw that. What? Like, I could have told you that was gonna get cut. Like, why are you overriding these things? So, but even though there's like a lot of fun and excitement in like figuring out certain things, there's always just so much stress that it made it a little bit harder to enjoy. And then there's just things like Voltron I enjoyed just because like we chose the style, and we could do this kind of like funny style, and we allowed our characters to go like a little zany sometimes, and we could push like a lot of our shots and like do out of the box stuff sometimes. And so like everything kind of has its own, I guess, different kind of like reason why I love it. and why I enjoy it. As far as like something that I would want to do, I am a big fan of Genshin Impact. It is a video game I play right now, and it's a beautiful world, and I love it. And that is something that I would love to adapt. And I'm also a huge fan. They're all video games of Shadow of the Colossus, which is a Sony game that is just it's like it's moody, it's like serious, it's tragic, and I adore it. And I would love to just like make this, I don't know, magnificent, like beautiful compositions, like all this scale and mood vibe. Wow. So those are things, you know, I like a lot of different things, but those are two kind of like top of my list properties.
And a couple of these questions actually kind of repeated what you've already mentioned. So if you asked a question, didn't get it answered, it's because we've already kind of answered it in an earlier topic of conversations we go on here. I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask is just with all these different DC projects, did you feel more of an affinity for one character versus another? Like, was there, or was it maybe a script, like this Batman script somehow resonated with you more on a personal level than, say, this Batman script? Do you remember a certain project more than another like that?
You know, I think like at that point in my career, scripts, like I had so little impact on the script that like usually my affinity would come from like, what do I get to draw? And I was always really excited when I got to draw the lady characters. And so we had this one episode, and I don't think it was like the deepest episode, it was called Grudge Match, and it was all the girls just duking it out. And I got to do like this huge fight scene with like every female character. And it was like, again, we had really like fast schedules, and I was like trying so hard to like do this whole big all out like fight scene. And there were times when I was overworking myself, and I was like, oh my God, maybe it's okay if it's just not the best. And I'd be like, no, this is my one chance. I'm never going to get to do all these ladies again. And I just get back in there. And so like, it was hard, and it was like very taxing, but I was very excited about being able to just an episode full of women. And that was exciting to me.
That's a huge fan favorite. I mean, fans bring that episode up to me all the time. And I think, wow, yeah, that's a big one for fans.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad.
Speaking of fans, do you do Comic-Cons? Do you get a chance to meet the fans?
I will do Comic-Cons if my job sends me. I don't generally like table on my own just because I'm lazy, and I'm also very antisocial. So like putting me in a situation where I have to like constantly like talk to people, I don't know. I feel like people's idea of meeting me is not going to be the reality. Like, I don't want to disappoint you.
Yeah, I disagree. No, I disagree.
You don't need to talk to me. But yeah, I don't do a ton. Like I just do if the work requires it.
Right,
like,
promoting
hey,
promoting a film. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember we did Superman, Batman, Apocalypse.
We did.
Yeah, and like you go out and you sell it. You know?
Yeah, Warner Brothers was always really good about like getting us out there at the cons. Like they had their whole process down. Like they knew. I spent a lot of time like since then at like studios that don't know how to market.
Well, we would also do like, the Paley Center. Your film would premiere at the Paley Center in Beverly Hills.
Paley Center? Yeah, a lot of it was like, I think a lot of it was just based on like, what date is it coming out? Because I think we did like the Carrie Russell Wonder Woman was at like San Francisco. Was that when WonderCon was in San Francisco? I think maybe.
I only know WonderCon from being in LA. I don't know WonderCon in San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something was in San Francisco.
Okay.
And then like, yeah, it's like different places. We do a lot at Comic-Con in like Ballroom 20. And then, and occasionally we do like a Paley Center one. And I think we did a couple there. And yeah, like a few different places. But it was always fun.
See, fun. Maybe this is a new beginning for you.
Yeah. I mean, I will go if the company asks, I will go. But
after 4 years working on your last project, man, I would think you would just want to be off in Bermuda somewhere. And you just like, I mean, how long a break do you need after working on something for 4 years?
I mean, I generally will take as long of a break as I'm allowed. And it really just depends on like, I guess whatever the next job is. If they're like, we need you to start now, it's like, oh, okay.
At this point, are you working as a freelancer or are you working as an employee of a studio?
Right now at this moment, I'm looking for my next project. So I'm entertaining like different things.
Okay.
And like depending on where I go, I will be a employee of that studio. But different things happen in different ways. Sometimes like if you're in development, you might not be like full time. You might be more like, they'll pay you for development, but you can do multiple things at multiple studios. If you're just doing like development, you're kind of like a free agent. And then, but yeah, once you kind of go in-house at a studio, they usually kind of like slap you with the exclusivity, and then you can't go working at the other places. You gotta just stick to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the way it was back when you were working, because I noticed you had a decent amount of Marvel, DC, Marvel, back and forth. So that was as a freelancer back then. No exclusivity needed.
Yeah, when you're just like on a board artist scenario, like there's no real exclusivity contracts. It's usually once you get to like show running, executive producing, even as a storyboard or an episodic director, it's not really exclusive. Like you can still freelance elsewhere. So like, if people are boarding, they'll be doing freelance, and some designers too. Designers, modelers, people will, they'll take a little freelance here and there. They'll work in the evenings. So yeah, I think it's just like the more kind of like leadership roles is where like they start to be like, okay, you can't go anywhere else.
Right. You're ours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if people want to find out, and we've kept you for a while here, I don't want to take up your entire day, but if people want to find out more about you, if people want to go out there, because when I was looking, you've got obviously your IMDb page, there's a Wikipedia page, and I found some art that you've done, and then your Instagram was very helpful. But is that where you'd send most people, Instagram, if they want to keep up with you?
Yeah. That's kind of like the only place I'm active, and I'm barely active. Like, I post like once a year. I don't know. But usually when a project comes out, like I'll post a bit more. But yeah, Instagram is generally where you will see me being like the most active.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really do the X so much.
Yeah.
The formerly known as Twitter.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd say go to the Instagram. I think it's like the best Lauren Montgomery, because I don't know. There's a lot of Lauren Montgomerys out there. They keep taking my name. So
okay, so the best Lauren Montgomery?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
And was it terrible doing the podcast?
No, it's lovely.
Because honestly, it's just such a delight having you on here with us, and your body of work is so extraordinary. And I'm just excited to see what comes next for you after this 4-year run on your movie.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best with the movie. And I know it's going to be a huge success. Huge.
Thank you.
And hopefully one of these days our paths will cross and you'll be directing me again. I hope so anyway.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, the animation industry is small. I assume that we will always cross paths again. Because how can you not?
Right.
But this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. And anytime you want to talk again, if you want to talk about weird episodes that I worked on, we can do it. It'll be great.
Perfect. We will hold you to that for sure. Thank you very much.
We will. Thank you,
Awesome.
Lauren.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
day.
Bye, you too.
Bye.
There she goes. First time in the show. Hopefully will not be her last. Lauren Montgomery. In case you are wondering, is the studio they were recording in haunted? I heard a ghost. No, Lauren's got 3 dogs, and one of them was snoring very loudly underneath her desk. And that's, if you saw me, if you're watching this on Patreon, you saw me grin at a weird moment and kind of stifle a laugh. It's because I could clearly hear her sweet, beautiful dog snoring loudly. So if you're wondering what that, oh, we're not haunted. And no, Chuck didn't have burritos for lunch again. That was Lauren's dog.
It was so great. And, I wasn't totally convinced it wasn't Ollie. That was the thing. And I wasn't totally convinced it wasn't Grimmy, although Grimmy's not in the room with you, right?
No, he just came in and looked at me, but he was probably wondering he wants dinner probably at this point. So that's why he's looking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's not keep him waiting. But it was just, I love hearing that sound. It was just so glorious. So yes, that's what you were hearing, folks, if you were listening and watching this episode. Well, I am just so grateful that she was on the show. I'm grateful to Joaquin for mentioning us to her, and that she would do it, and especially because, she says she is introverted and it's not comfortable for her. And I completely appreciate that. And it makes it, all the more generous that she did do this.
Agreed.
So we're delighted. I know we didn't cover everything that we could have. I know you have a page of stuff that you wanted to get to, but how long could we keep the woman?
Right.
I mean, she has a life. She has a life.
Yeah. We could have kept her for another 4 years. Would have been this is worse than I just got done doing this project. Now I'm on this podcast for 4 years.
4 years. But yeah, so you'll hopefully, you'll host her on your radio show or something else, so you can, ask her those questions you didn't get to ask her on the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk some Ben 10. We'll talk some Voltron Legendary Defender and get into all that good stuff. For people who are wondering, Susan Eisenberg, where you can be found, or it's like, oh, this is my first time listening to Justice League podcast. I didn't know Susan Eisenberg was active on social medias. Where would you send them to find out more?
Well, I would send them to Blue Sky or Instagram or Threads, and Susan Eisenberg 1, the number 1, and also SusanEisenbergVoice.com is my website, and you can email me there. I've gotten a couple of emails about the show. I owe a couple of emails. I will be responding. So thank you for giving me your thoughts about our podcast and what your take is on it. Please, speaking of our podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. And if you'd consider supporting us through our Patreon, we'd love that. We'd appreciate it. And that's where you can find me, mister. What about you? What about, wait, hold on. Let me get comfortable.
Yeah, sit down. Maybe break out the good pillow.
This takes a while.
Start the little back massager.
Let's go.
So geek2meradio.com is the website. That's kind of the hub for everything I do there. You can catch episodes of my radio show that are backlogged there. It's Geek to Me Radio on Twitter and Instagram and Threads, and on Facebook.com/GeekToMeRadio. So you can check out all the stuff that I do. Susan's been on my show so many times. She's got 4 or 5 gold jackets like they give out on Saturday Night Live. So I've had the entire cast of Justice League on, the original 7. And I'm very fortunate to have been able to speak to each one of them and have them on that show. But if you like pop culture, check out the show, because we have comic book writers and artists. We've got directors, producers, musicians, lots of cool stuff, comedians, and it's usually a pretty good time as far as I'm concerned. You can catch that every Sunday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific, on ktrs.com/stream if you want to hear that old AM crackle on your radio. Otherwise, you can stream us on Facebook, and please go to youtube.com. Find Geek to Me Radio there, subscribe. That way, when we go live with video, you will be able to tune in and watch my guest and I banter.
I got to say, I love the crackle. I love the AM crackle. It's very nostalgic for me. I started in radio, and I love it so much. So anywho, is that it? Is that all you got?
It. Yeah, it's all for now.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, listen, audience, we just are so appreciative that you joined us, and please come back again, because as you know, the conversation will continue.